You already know what it is. You knew it before you clicked on this video. You knew it this morning when you woke up and did everything else instead. That thing sitting in the back of your mind right now, the one you keep walking past, that's exactly what this video is about. So don't go anywhere, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why you keep avoiding it, what's actually costing you, and the only shift that makes it stop. Here's what I see over and over again. People who are not lazy, people who are not stupid, people who genuinely want to change their life, and they are busy, they are doing things, they are reading, researching, planning, preparing, and nothing is moving. Not because they don't know enough, not because the timing is wrong, not because they need one more piece of information, but because they're doing everything except the one thing that actually changes it. And I want to talk you through 4 things today that I think are going to land differently than anything you've heard on this before. Because the problem isn't your plan, it's not your schedule, it's not your circumstances. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it is, and more importantly, what to do about it. Settle in, let's get into it. Let me describe someone. They're not lazy, not even close. They are one of the most productive people in their circle. They get things done, they show up at work, they handle their responsibilities. Nobody looking at their life from the outside would ever call them undisciplined. And yet there's one area, maybe 2, where nothing moves, where the same intention has been sitting in the same place for months, where they are somehow always busy, always doing something, but never doing that. Now, this is not a motivation problem. This is not a problem of willpower. This is not a productive avoidance. And it is one of the most common patterns I see people who are otherwise capable of a lot. Here's what it actually is. The thing you keep not doing is uncomfortable in a specific way. Not hard the way tasks at work are hard. Uncomfortable in a way that feels personal. Because if you try it and it doesn't work, the story you carry about yourself, it takes a hit. So your brain does something very intelligent. It keeps you busy with everything that feels productive, but carries no real risk. The research, the planning, the organizing, the preparing to prepare, it all feels like progress, but none of it is the thing. Busyness is the most socially acceptable form of avoidance there is. You can stay busy your entire life and never once touch the thing that would actually change it. And nobody around you will ever call it out. Because from the outside, you look like you're working. The question isn't whether you are busy. The question is whether you are busy with this one thing. That is the first shift. Most people hear the one thing and immediately start building a list. A new morning routine, a complete overhaul, a system, a program, a full reset. And that is exactly the trap. Because the one thing is almost always embarrassingly simple. And that simplicity is exactly why people resist it. Your brain wants a big overhaul. It wants the complete transformation. New year, new me, change everything at once. And I understand that fully. But the vision of total change, yeah, it feels like power. It feels like you're finally getting serious. But it is also the fastest path back to starting over. Because when you try to change everything at once, you are betting on willpower. And willpower is limited resource. It runs out. Life gets in the way. You miss one day, then 2, and then the whole thing collapses and you're back to 0. Except now you've added another failure to the story you tell yourself about who you are. You don't need a new life. You need one decision, one anchor. Change one thing. One. Make it so small it almost feels like it doesn't count. Make it so manageable that missing it would actually feel strange. 5 minutes of intentional movement, 1 page written, 1 honest conversation, 1 meal that lines up with who you say you want to be. That's it. That's the one thing. And I know what you're thinking. That's not enough. That won't get me where I want to go. But here's what I know. The person who does the small thing consistently always outruns the person who does the big thing once and quits. Consistency compounds. Inconsistency cancels. Start small. Stay consistent. Then increase the intensity when the habit is formed, but not before. Something happens when you start showing up for yourself in one area that nobody warns you about. You start the one thing. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's hitting the gym 3 times a week. Maybe it's cutting out one thing that's been draining you. A few weeks in, things start shifting in places you weren't even working on. You eat a little cleaner. You procrastinate a little less at work. You have a little more patience with the people around you. Nobody told you to do any of that. You didn't add it to the plan. You just started showing up. This is not a coincidence. Discipline in one area is proof to yourself that you are someone who follows through. And when you believe that about yourself, even in one small area, it starts to rewrite the internal story. The voice that used to say, I can't, you won't, you never do, gets quieter because now you have the evidence that contradicts it. Identity drives behavior. When you start to see yourself as someone who does what they say they're going to do, even in one thing, that identity begins to expand. You don't just get a better habit, you get a better picture of who you are. And that picture is what everything else builds on. Here's the thing that nobody tells you about discipline. It's not built in the big moments. It's not built in the dramatic decisions, the major life overhauls, the all-in-one commitments made at the beginning of the year. It's built in the moments nobody else sees. The 5 minutes you showed up for when you had every reason not to. The decision you made at the end of the long day when you were tired and nobody was watching and you did it anyway. Those small moments, they feel small. They don't feel like they count, but they are doing something that no program, no plan, no accountability partner could do for you. They are changing who you believe you are. That's what I meant by that. Most people approach discipline from the outside in. They try to change their behavior first and hope that eventually it starts to feel natural. And that works for a while. But when life gets hard, when the schedule breaks down, when the motivation isn't there, when you injure your shoulder, when the circumstances aren't ideal, behavior that was never tied to identity, it collapses. Because behavior that isn't rooted in who you believe you are will always be temporary. The goal is not to build better habits. The goal is to become someone who doesn't need to be convinced. Every time you do the one thing, especially when you don't feel like it, you are casting a vote for the version of yourself, not the version who you were yesterday. The version you are becoming. At some point, enough votes accumulate that the identity, it shifts. You're no longer someone trying to be disciplined. You are someone who is. And that person does not negotiate with resistance the same way. The person Like that does not need the conditions to be right. That person, it just moves. That is what one small thing done consistently actually builds. Not really a habit, a person. Without discipline, nothing changes. But the good news is, you don't have to become a different person overnight. You just have to start casting votes for the person you are becoming. One thing done today, whether you feel like it or not, and you already know what it is. There is something that happens when you stay consistent long enough that nobody warns you about. You will wake up one day and you will realize you became someone else. Not dramatically, not all at once, but somewhere in the small decisions, the days you showed up when you didn't feel like it, something shifted. That is what the next video is about. Watch it now.